let's get to our first guest, who is very patiently waiting. And like so many of our guests, we are so glad to have him joining us via Zoom. If you're watching on one of our video outlets, you can see John Fitzgerald, the Keego Harbor Police Chief. And Chief Fitzgerald, thank you for joining us on the Megacast.
Morning, Dave. How you doing?
You know, I feel good now. I didn't feel so good when I woke up. Do you go through this thing, too, where you go, is that just 60-year-old Dave barking at me a little bit, or do I have something going on? I mean, I can breathe fine. I don't think I have any fever. I think I'm hitting on all, 8 cylinders, but I'm a 61-year-old guy. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. Did you ever go through that yourself where you're not quite sure? If you're feeling good, feeling bad?
I think it's the same thing. I think probably most people go through that. All of a sudden they feel a little bit warm and go, oh, is something coming on? And they get a little bit worried about that stuff. Happens to me too. And sit there and calm down and sit through it. And so far, it's been nothing for any of those what almost would be symptoms for me.
Well, and I think I'm in the same boat, but we'll talk about that later on in the show. I feel fine right now. So I think we're all okay. We're all okay, but there's a lot of people that aren't okay. We've had a tremendous number of deaths, way too many people impacted by the coronavirus in our communities. I'm really glad you're here with us today, and I'm really glad, Chief, that you allowed us to broadcast today's show on the Facebook page of the Keego Harbor Police Department. You got a lot of followers. You got a lot of followers for Keego Harbor. I was really impressed.
No, we're happy to help. If we can get some good information out to everybody, that's what we want to do. That's what it's all about right now.
So when we talked a couple of days ago, I really enjoyed your comments. One of the things you mentioned that it's difficult for local municipalities to enforce all the different orders that we have because there, especially at the beginning, wasn't a tremendous amount of clarity. Since the Attorney General has come out and published information and you've had time in the field, how's that going, Chief Fitzgerald?
In Keego, it's going pretty well. I like to think that people are policing themselves. A lot of us didn't take it as seriously as we might have wanted to begin with. I have to be one of those too that didn't right off the bat think it was that bad. Hey, another flu. But as they're putting out numbers and it is affecting people seriously, I think I'm seeing more people following the rules that are put out there so the police department doesn't have to get involved in that. And that's the important thing is overall just take care of yourselves and do what you're supposed to do. Make good choices.
Well, and that's great what you just said, and it's true. We hear from all of our first responders that, if you overtax the system, we're not going to really be able to be there when we need. So like I got a little minor sniffle today. If it gets worse, then I'll go and I'll get tested. If not, then why burden the system? If somebody calls you for something that is insignificant, they're burdening the system, and it's probably not the best idea. Although I know you do want people to call you when there are problems.
We do. We want people to call, but that goes back to the burdens on the system. Some people think, well, I'm going to go out for a drive in my car because I can't catch it through the window of my car, and if I have it, I'm not giving it to somebody else. What happens if you get in an accident? Then you're tying up first responders on the accident. If it's bad enough, you're going to tie up a bed in a hospital that we need right now. So going out just to go out, take your walks like they say, but remember, be considerate of other people and what your actions could result in for somebody else.
Well, and I agree with what you said a couple of minutes ago. This didn't really hit home, to the degree that it has now. Chief John Fitzgerald, Keego Harbor Police Chief, joining us via Zoom here on the Megacast. It didn't hit home for me, and I was probably a little reckless the first couple of days. Good point about driving, though. I mean, we do feel very cocooned in our car, and we feel like it's a safe environment. But really, from a practical standpoint, you're not supposed to be driving around on the roadways right now unless you're going out to get supplies or you are a essential employee.
That's correct. Yeah, it's one of those things. You're supposed to stay at home. Don't go out and cause any other problems for people.
So is there anything you want to share with the public today, things you're seeing, anything you want to enlighten us about that you're seeing from your perch in Keego Harbor as a police chief?
Once again, I'm seeing a lot of cooperation with people. I'm seeing a lot of people being friendly with each other. I want to give a shout out to people are patting first responders on the back, and the nurses and the doctors and the hospitals are doing a great job, and they're really facing this right to their face at work. But think about those guys at Kroger and Meijer and all the essential stores that are open who have the public come into their face, right up to their face at the cash register all day long. A lot more people coming through to them with no protection on. So a shout out to those guys. A thank you to them for continuing, because we need them to keep the essential services going.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned that. I am really terrified, and I don't worry about stuff too much, but I'm pretty terrified when I'm going into the grocery store. There's all those products. You think about all the people that had to touch them, and then you're right, from the merchant standpoint, the people that are there serving us, they're heroic. We wouldn't be eating without them, and then just all the people down the whole line, the truck drivers and everybody. So. We got to be careful more in the grocery store and be respectful. The store I go to, they got lines marked. Stay 6 feet away. Like you go to the meat counter, there's a big line. Your checkout, keep some space, right?
Absolutely. And remember the guy working behind the counter at the cash register. Don't yell at those guys because they don't have something in stock. It's not them. Either somebody took too much or they just can't get it right now. But remember, they're people too, and they're doing a great job for us. Don't start yelling at them for something that's beyond their control.
No, and listen, we're all stressed out. I mean, we are all stressed out right now, but barking at someone who's out there doing their job, and they could be staying at home and not going to work. They're there to help you get the food you need. That's just downright wrong. It makes no sense to me. By the way, real quickly, we are later on in the program today going to go through some really good information that we got from Click on Detroit and from CNN about what you need to do with your food. I mean, you got to be careful bringing food into your house. There could be the coronavirus on some of the packaging. There are things that you can do. We're going to go through all the steps before the show is over. How's your staff, Chief Fitzgerald? Are you doing okay?
They're doing all right. They feel the stress too, because they are going out on the road every day and meeting people, and you can see there's a extra burden on their shoulders right now, and it's not pleasant. But they're continuing to try and do the service that they're sworn to do. They keep doing it. I'd also like to say thank you for the people giving us good wishes. People are, we just had a couple that supplied us with a bunch of masks. They're not the N95 masks, but they're going to be very helpful. They were homemade ones, but I'm asking people not to come into the station to make food donations. It's probably pretty true at any police station or fire station right now. Don't come into us with donations. Call ahead if anything. We're trying to keep our environment as sterile as possible here, with a lot of wipe downs and keeping people out of it, just like you should be at your own homes.
Chief John Fitzgerald of Keego Harbor, the police chief there. And I'm sure you're keeping up with all of the 911 calls that are coming into your department. You are still able to respond to all of them, correct?
Absolutely. We've been able to respond to everything that's been coming in, and we plan to keep doing that. I feel for my brother officers and sister officers in Detroit and some of the other cities that have been hit kind of hard with this coronavirus. Crossing my fingers and hoping that the steps we're taking and the cautions we're taking are going to keep all our Keego and our partners at Orchard Lake and Sylvan Lake and West Bloomfield, keep them all on the road and healthy to serve everyone.
It's really tough in Detroit, but it's kind of tough out here too. I mean, we certainly have seen the coronavirus hit hard here in Oakland County and in our neighborhoods. So, Chief, thank you very much. I got an email from the Toro Grill in Pontiac, really not too far from you and a lot of other first responders in the area. They're giving out free tacos to anyone who's got a badge or anyone who's driving a truck or anyone who's helping out. So if your guys get hungry around lunchtime, it's not too far, right up there in Pontiac. I think they're off Telegraph somewhere, and they got free tacos. They wanted me to mention that to you today.
That's a great offer. Thank you very much.
It is great. I mean, even if you can't take up all these offers, it's heartwarming, isn't it, to see the community come out and support you guys?
They are. You just can tell from the restaurants and even the citizens and the messages we're getting on our Facebook page and some of the calls into the station. They're supporting us, and it's great. And, I also hate to sound like a negative Nelly saying, don't do this, don't do that. Think about some of the good things you can do. Spend some more time with your family. Get up and enjoy this, the sunrise or the sunset, the little things that maybe you didn't have time to enjoy before. There's some things we can try and make positives out of this. Not everything's got to be negative, and you can't do this and you can't do that. So, keep yourself going with positive things.
Well, I agree. We're trying to keep it light. It gets hard. It gets hard when you're isolated in your home. You're working really hard, and we all have the pressure of this virus hanging over our head. So I get it. But, yeah, it's keep your cool. Be a good American. We are at war. Just look back at the people that came before us and the great heroes that have preceded us in this country and the effort they made. We can do the same thing. It's a challenge, but I know we can do the same thing. Before I let you go, Chief, have you had to ticket anybody or arrest anybody because they're violating any, and I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, but because they're violating any of these rules that have been handed down by our government officials to keep people at home?
We have not had to issue any tickets. We helped the city code enforcement with a stop work order at one place. We have given a couple of warnings out, but for the most part, people are being, they're being acceptive and are receptive to our advice to get back home and knock it off. So luckily, we haven't had to do enforcement actions. It's all been warnings and information education to them.
All right, and I will send a message over to Chief Flynn at the fire department in West Bloomfield, and any comments that he might have made about the fire department having a harder job than the police department. I know you want to straighten him out. Is there anything you want to say to him on the Megacast here?
Well, we go back and forth, but I think this time I remember that I checked the right box on the application.
Okay. It's kind of like Army-Navy. You know, Tyler, it's just kind of like Army-Navy.
It is.
All right. Chief, thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate it. And I know when we talk to you, it's like talking to the chief of police in any of our communities, the Bloomfields and Franklin and Birmingham and West Bloomfield and in Novi and all of our area. You're all going through the same thing. It's good to hear from you this morning, and thank you for joining us on the Megacast. Thanks for putting us on your Facebook page, and we will keep in touch, sir.
You're welcome, Dave. Stay healthy, everybody.
Thank you. You too. He is the chief of the Keego Harbor Police Department. Not the biggest department in our area, but a really important department, and they do a really good job, and it's good to see